And we are live. What's good, shout your man DL saying welcome. I really want to know podcast, man. Happy Monday. How y'all doing out there? How are y'all doing out there? All is well right here, I guess. I'm gonna keep it 100. If I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, I'm in a bad mood, man. It's been in a funky mood all day long. Just like uh, it happens. It is what it is. People are like, well, what do you do? Yeah, you just push through it. You just push through it. I hope y'all Monday is going fine. Um, Yeah, my Monday is doing all right. It's doing what it's supposed to do. But there's a lot of talk out there, man. A lot of talk out there about traditional conservative women, TradCons, traditional conservative, like this push, this movement to go back to the way things used to be. Um, I figure we'll have a talk about that tonight. You know what I mean? I think that's what we're gonna talk about, man. The TradCon women of America. They're here and they want to be heard. Let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome. Did I really want to know podcast, y'all? Yes. So, again, I hope y'all doing well out there. I know it's Monday, and we're almost at the end of January. We're almost 1 month into 2024, y'all. So, yeah, man, it's moving pretty fast. Some might think that this is a long month, like January is the longest month. It is what it is. For those of you out there checking out the show, man, appreciate it if you would like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Share and all that good stuff. Comment, of course. If you like what we're talking about over here, if you don't like what we're talking about over here, I'm saying, all comments are welcome. But this traditional conservative thing, man, like it's like direct opposition to female empowerment and all that. It kind of rubs, I guess, modern women the wrong way. I don't know why, but it seems to be the case. So we're definitely going to talk about that today. I found an article on USA Today from July of last year. And a lot of people may not be familiar with this acronym, man, this TradCon or whatever, but it's an acronym. It's a traditional conservative. We're going to get into what that is, right? What is that? So the article begins with perfectly coiffed hair, a pin-up dress, a gorgeous home-cooked meal on a decadent dining room table. These images convey that of a traditional wife, in quotation marks, a woman you might picture as being from the 1950s. But these women, known as trad wives, and typically Christian conservatives, are here today and gaining attention on TikTok to the tune of nearly 187 million views. Many of their followers celebrate the life these women aim to showcase, but others worry they are idealizing a time when women enjoy less autonomy, fewer rights, and have now, especially as we head into this heated election season. So less autonomy and fewer rights than they have now. So I guess that's why people are kind of be mad. You know what I mean? They kind of upset about it. Last good man and judges in the building. What's good, fam? Always a pleasure to see you. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. I appreciate everyone who just pops in for a hot second drops a like. I really do. I mean, it helps. Like, we're trying to grow. YouTube isn't crazy about this type of content because anything that's red pill adjacent, manosphere, anything close to that world, the algorithm doesn't seem to really like it. You look at the ones out, the channels out there who are doing big numbers. Just imagine the numbers they would be doing if the algorithm wasn't out there really suppressing the content. Make myself big when I talk like this. Like, think about if there were no restrictions on this content, how big it would be. Like, it is what it is, man. But we're gonna have these conversations. we're definitely going to have these conversations. That's what, freedom of speech looks like. And, whenever you have dissenting voices that goes against the grain, it's going to, go out there and ask that all important question, why, you know, and if whoever out there is pushing the narrative, if they can stop you, they will. I mean, point blank period. That's how that works. So, so we know traditional wives, people keep talking about like the 1950s, 60s, like the Leave It to Beaver's mom and all that kind of stuff. I guess those are, traditional conservative wives. And that doesn't really jive too much with what's going on today in 2024. But there seems to be a movement to go back to that, and some women don't like it, and some women are cool with it, and everyone else is kind of in the middle trying to figure it out. Um, and like they said, and this was July of last year when this article was written. What does it mean to be a trad wife? Not all trad wives are alike, according to SD Williams, a trad wife influencer on TikTok. In her eyes, trad wives are homemakers whose priority is cooking, cleaning, and being subservient to men. But such submission isn't degrading, she says. It's her choice. Subservient to men. That part right there, I can see why a lot of women would get up in arms. Subservient to men. I mean, when you look at a woman who chooses to stay home, if they can, right, you got to understand that we're not talking about the average home, really. I mean, we could be. It depends on, who's running the finances, who's in control of the money, which in most cases traditional wives are. Unless I misunderstand it, I think that traditionally wives run the household budget. Of course, the husband slant dad is gonna sit there and be watchful of what's going on, but it's mom who's like, hey, this is how much we need for groceries, this is how much we need for clothing, this is how much we need for entertainment. I mean, and then it forces mom and dad, husband and wife, to sit down and plan these things out to run their home. But you hear that word subservient, man, it kind of hits you hard. You know what I mean? It hits you it's like a body blow. Subservient. Submission occurs, I think, on both sides of the coin when you're talking about marriage. She has to submit, of course, but he has to submit as well to the relationship. So again, I talk about this all the time. People are like, well, who's the prize? Is the man the prize? Is the woman the prize? I say that, once the right man and right woman find each other, they become the prize. Once they join up and they make it work, they do the hard work and they become the prize. That's my take on that. But subserving it to men, ooh, I could see that. I could see that being a problem with a lot of people. The article continues. It doesn't mean you're below the man, because if you think about it, it's a compliment, Williams says. The man, he needs that woman to be beside him, to motivate him, be there for him. So what does Williams' marriage look like? Her husband, an electrician, must approve major purchases she makes, but it's not as if she needs to check in with him for a pack of gum or coffee. Um, they have a budget and they try to stay within it. Okay, so this woman right here, her husband is an electrician. Okay, blue collar work. I wonder if he owns his own business. Right, he's an electrician. It sounds like they have an agreement. He has to sign off on all the major purchases. All right. And some people like, see, that's him keeping her underfoot. Nah, like if I got a business, right, if I got a partner, we would have to have an agreement. We both have to, be okay with signing off on big purchases. If you're running a business with someone or you're partnered up with someone and they show up to a business meeting in a brand new Ferrari and they bought it with company funds, like, yo, what's up? Oh, I just decided to buy a Ferrari. We could share it. Nah, bro, you gotta, you know what I mean? Like that's a huge purchase. Both parties need to be aware. If you're married, you're a partnership, right? It's the ultimate partnership. So it makes sense to me. She's like, look, and it sounds like he needs to sign off on a budget, which means sounds like she has access to the accounts and she's running the budget. So that sounds like to me that's what they're doing. She's out here buying groceries, paying for the gas, getting the car done, getting the kids, picking them up from school, taking them to school, getting them dressed, cooking breakfast, lunch, dinner, making sure everything is cool, doing all the doctor's appointments and all the rest of it, the dentist stuff, going to the PTA meetings, going to teacher meetings and stuff like that. So, yeah, she's going to have the money available to her when she needs it. So yeah, and he's like, hey, he's counting on her to do her thing. It's like, hey, before you go out and spend a bunch of money, tell me. Let me sign off on that. Let me what why are you going to spend $30,000, right? Something like that, or whatever the cutoff is. It might be $1,000. Anything over $1,000, they both got to be aware of something like that. That makes sense, right? That's just a relationship. That's the partnership that marriage is. It only makes sense. So, and everything she's saying, that to be there for him, to motivate him, yeah, she has to add value. She's adding value to her guy. She is supporting her man, and her man is supporting her. Like he wouldn't be out here working as hard as he has to, or as hard as he's working, without her and the kids. So she's the motivation for him to go out there and be the best version of himself and make as much money as he can, so he can support his family, protect his family, do whatever he needs to do. And she has to be there to make sure he's a top tier dude, to keep him there, to hold him up, to hold it down at home so he doesn't have any worries. Because I've been in situations and I've seen dudes. This is when I was an air traffic controller. I've seen dudes who would come to work and they would have problems at work because they were worried about what was going on at home. They couldn't focus on the job because of the stuff that was going on at home, right? With the girlfriend or the wife, the baby mama, whatever you want to call it. His significant other was out there doing some wild stuff and he couldn't focus. And it was costing him. He wanted to take a lot of time off from work. He wasn't taking on the overtime because he was so worried about what was going on at home. It was a lack of trust. And he believed that his wife or girlfriend, whatever it was doing something. So he couldn't focus for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's suspicions were true or not. I don't know. I just know that it affected his work, and it made everyone around him work harder, to the point it was like, man, dude a break, get him out of here. And he would run to the phone or run, go text or call or voice time or whatever, take long breaks, take long lunches so he could run home and see what's going on. That's not a good thing. So he's not able to go out there and make the big money because he had a boss baby at home and he was worried about what she was doing. You know what I mean? Again, I don't know if she was doing it or not, but that's what he was worried about. So, yeah, and then she went on to talk about, like, yeah, I got to check in with the husband if I'm going to go make a major purchase. That only makes sense. And I'm pretty sure he has to check in with her as well. And then there's pictures of her, and she's like dressing the role like Molly Homemaker. That's funny. That's funny. Now, I will say this. Not every man is looking for a woman like this to marry. All right, let's just put that out there. Not every man is looking for this. There's some men who they want a modern, quote unquote, woman. They want a woman who's out there working, just like he's working, and they're paying for whatever they got to pay for together. There's some people who want that. There are guys who will say that they want one or the other, but they really don't know themselves, so they really don't know what they want, do they? Got to know yourself. You know what I mean? Shout out to Sun Tzu. You got to know yourself. So, you got all these things going on, which is, this is where we are right now. We're in a societal shift, and a lot of people don't know how to handle this shift. And then people don't truly know themselves. Therefore, they're having a hard time picking a significant other, and then it goes bad. And then, again, we talk about this all the time. You add to that how easy it is to get divorced in America. And, someone's going to benefit from that divorce. Whoever has less, whoever came in with less, or whoever has less in that situation is more likely going to benefit from it. They're going to get paid out either property or alimony or, child support. There's going to be money involved, which is a whole nother conversation, which is a horrible thing, the way we do it in America. So now you have guys like, man, give me a traditional woman. Well, how you know you're getting a traditional woman, bro? She might be playing a role. But anyway, we'll get to that in a little bit. We'll get to that in a little bit. The article continues. Trad wife life called to her. Williams, 25, grew up in a traditional conservative household, but when her parents got divorced, it turned her world upside down. At that point, as I started growing up, I was pushed into college so that way I could depend on myself, she says. That's what I was told because my mom had to really pick up the pieces after her divorce. And she never wanted to see me go through that. And that makes sense. All right, here's another picture of her right here. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. That hairstyle is a little weird to me, but hey, I ain't married to her. Um, that plan didn't last. The traditional wife life called to her. She found her husband in 2020, dropped out of college, and here we are. She sees herself as her husband's, she sees herself and her husband as equals with different roles. I like the way she put that. I like the way she put that. It's like we're equals with different roles. Rich Cooper says that, when it comes to men and women, especially when they get married, there are blue jobs and pink jobs, right? There's blue jobs, jobs that typically men would do traditionally, and pink jobs, the roles that women would normally play, right? And examples of that is shoveling the snow would be a blue job. Taking care of the lawn, uh, cleaning the gutters, right? All blue jobs. Pink jobs, doing the laundry, cleaning the kitchen, vacuuming, dusting, pink jobs. Then you got a whole bunch of jobs that kind of, you don't have to define them, right? Washing the dishes, like who puts the stuff in the dishwasher, or who actually washing the dishes, putting the dishes away, making dessert. I mean, there's all sorts of things that goes on in a relationship, but you define those roles and you don't have to sit down and write them out like, okay, I'm going to do the grass and you're going to do this and that. People just tend to kind of drift over to what they normally do. All right, this is a flat tire. I'm going to go change the flat tire. That pretty much falls into, blue job territory, but it doesn't mean that she can't do it. It doesn't mean we're not going to teach our children, boys and girls, how to do it. Right. Especially nowadays. We just call AAA. So I really like the way she put that. Equals with different roles. I like that. Um, it's a false nostalgia. Journalist and author Joe Peza believes there are aspects of the trad wife aesthetic that can be harmful to young, impressionable girls. Uh, the purported 50s sitcom lifestyle was just that, a television ideal more than a real life one, right? And I get that it was TV, but I will say this, I grew up in the 70s and 80s and grandma cooked, my mother cooked, all of my aunts cooked. My mom kept the house spotless. That's what she did. You know what I mean? My mom wasn't married when I was growing up, so but she still took care of all the traditional stuff. And when it was like I took the trash out or I had to go, when it was like manual labor needed to be done, I went to go do it. My mom was like, go out to the car and bring the groceries in. That would be my job. You know what I mean? Pick up the heavy stuff. Even as like a 8-year-old, 9-year-old, I'm going out there I'm getting the groceries and coming back into the house. And it was a long walk, y'all. We live in the apartment. It was a long walk to the car and then get the bags and come walking in. Paper bags. They didn't have any handles back then. But even just growing up, there were like we would go to visit family on the farm, and there was certain things that we had to do. And get up early and go do stuff, and there was again the manual labor tend to fall. It fell to us, the men and the boys, and then our female cousins and my aunts and everything. They would do all the pink job stuff. That's the way I was raised. Now, does that mean that's the type of woman I'm looking for? No, no, right? But I get this pause for the nostalgia. Like people look at that and you're watching television, like, look how it really was back in the 50s. No, that was a middle class family. That was a family head who the head of the family was taking care of business, making good money, doing whatever. He wore a suit to work. But then you have families where a dude wore overalls to work. And, mom was home, but she was doing extra stuff. She was doing, maybe she would go clean somebody else's house for an hour or two, make that little extra money, came back home and still did all her other stuff before the kids got back, before her husband got home and stuff like that. Maybe, maybe she was canning peaches or something, or maybe she had like a garden or something in the back, and she would go out and she would sell carrots and tomatoes and stuff like that. That wasn't normally depicted in TV and movies back then. Now you got to watch it. You want to see what it was like living back in the 30s, right? You want to back in the Dust Bowl era with, when the economy was like during the Great Depression. Watch The Highwayman. It's a movie with Kevin Costner. Watch Highwayman. It's the story of the two Texas Rangers who tracked down Bonnie and Clyde. But it's a journey through America, especially through the heartland of America, what it was like back then. And it certainly wasn't like, the 1950s depicted it, you know what I mean? So there's always two sides of it, right? There's always two sides. But let's continue. Let's continue to see what they're talking about. Piazza appreciates appreciate that women can make the choice to solely be caregivers and homemakers. Where it goes awry, she said, is that trad wife makes it seem as if their choice is superior. Williams, for her part, says she's just living her life and not trying to change anyone else's. Okay, I get where she's coming from. She's like, all these women are coming off like they're superior somehow and trying to look down on my life because I chose to do this, or I'm living this situation, whatever it might be, single mom, or I'm just a single woman out here with my cats and dogs or whatever. I'm just out here doing my thing. You're not better than me. Okay, I get that. And you're looking at the TikToks where they have, hundreds of millions of views on this lifestyle. And, I would say a lot of these women who are living this traditional conservative lifestyle are probably married to men who have a lot of money. It's really difficult to stay home and just take care of the house and kids if, we don't have enough money to make it to next payday. Like, you got to do something. And I get that because, it's getting harder and harder to live in America. I get that. That 2022 median household income in America was around $74,580, right? That's normally a dual income. So if that's how much the husband is making, okay, and they live in Fairville, North Carolina, or Fayetteville, Arkansas, somewhere out in the sticks, maybe they can live on that. But if they live in Miami or in the suburbs of New York or LA, anywhere in California, that's not going to be enough. It's going to be real tough to live on that. It can be done. If you budget really nice and, like look for deals and stuff, it can be done. But that's not a lot of money. Right. So especially when you look out west, the median household income out west is around $83,000 a year. It's like $82,890 a year household. So I don't know. I mean, it depends on the couple. Can they make it work? If they agree that, hey, one of us is going to stay home, she's like, you know what? I'll stay home, take care of the kids, because that's going to save a ton of money in daycare anyway. If the kids aren't in school, that makes sense. But she still might have to find some sort of job where she's working from home as well, because $82,000 might not cut it, right? Especially if you're trying to buy a house and you want to take a little vacation here and there, you want to do whatever. That's not going to cut it at all. So I get that. And she's saying, some of these women are looking down and she doesn't like that. Okay. She continues, I do like the idea that we are elevating from kinds of work that women do in the home to something that we do want to see, to something that is aspirational. The dangers in that are when you say, this is the only thing a woman should be doing. This is the only role a woman should be playing. I don't know who's saying that. I'm sure someone is. I'm sure someone is saying that barefoot and pregnant is the only place she should be in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant, da da da. I watch a lot of fresh and fit content. Not as much as I used to. The late night shows, the after hours I don't watch, but I still watch the daytime shows. I watch them every daytime show that comes on. And when Myron and Fresh talk about these things, they're not saying that a woman deserves her place is in the kitchen. And I think one of the things that not I think I know one of the things that Myron says all the time is she should be home if she wants to. Like if she wants to work, it should be her choice. So like if she chooses to go chase a career, that should be her choice. I think I've heard a lot of dudes like, you shouldn't be forced to go chase a career. I understand that. So yeah, if there's people out there saying a woman's place is in the home, she has no place out here working. I don't agree with that at all. If there are people out there saying that, I don't agree with that, not one bit. But if you have a woman who's out there and she says, I'm sick of working, I'm sick of chasing this career. I'd rather be home, take care of the house, take care of the kids, and we can afford it, then I don't see anything wrong with that at all. At all. Right. So women have choices. The laws aren't going to go back. If women decided they wanted to leave the workplace and go home and stay with the kids and work from home, they're not going to change the laws around that and say, okay, now women can't vote. Okay, now women can't work. Okay, now women can't have a bank account. They're not going to go back and change the laws. I don't believe that's going to happen. You know what I mean? And and then the author was also worried about the whole Roe v. Wade thing, which we know how that turned out. Again, this was from last year. We know how that turned out. So, you know, I get where some of these people are coming from. Now, there's a there is I saw this on YouTube. My bad. I saw this on YouTube and I wanted to run this. This is from The Hill Rising on YouTube. Um and I thought it was pretty cool. It's a bunch of women talking about this. Right? They're just sitting there talking about this. And I thought this would be kind of cool to watch because we read a little bit of that USA Today story. You saw where that was going, where you have women who are like, I love staying home. I don't want to work. I want to be here I want to take care of my family, take care of my husband, take care of the kids. And you have other women who's like, all right, that's cool, but we're afraid that you're trying to erase all of the gains that they made through the years and through, the fights in court and all that kind of stuff with respect to women's rights, the right to work, and the whole my body, my choice thing. All right. So I see the two, I see what's lining up here, right? I see what's lining up here. Um, what's good, bro? I see you, Airborne. Yo, I tried to hit you up, man. I want to see what you up to. I ain't heard from you in a minute, man. It's good to see you. At least I know you good. You on the correct side of the ground. So yeah, man. Let's watch this real quick. And I thought it was fascinating. It was like the rise of the trad wife. Gen Z is bringing back gender roles, false promise of feminism. And I'm hearing this conversation on a lot of different platforms, bro. Not just red pill stuff. I'm talking mainstream media. I'm talking the left and the right. I'm hearing this conversation a lot. Let's get into it.
All right, guys out there, who would you rather marry, a girl boss or a trad wife? It seems like Gen Z is choosing the latter. According to a new article in The Federalist, the rise of the massively popular trad wife or traditional wife trend on Instagram, depicting women happily remaining at home and raising the kids, is following a reorientation of priorities for women away from the workforce and into the wivery. One trad wife, Hannah Nealman, has nearly 9 million followers on Instagram who attentively tune into content featuring her life as a mom on a hog farm in Utah. Here's one example of her content.
This part right here. Like this part right here, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. it's overdoing it a little bit, I would say. But this is her life. And apparently she's married to a multi-billionaire, so she can afford to be home doing whatever she's doing. And I think that's great. She's doing everything from scratch. She's got the kids right there. I think that's a great life if you can get it. That's a tough life to lead. Let's continue.
Some question whether this lifestyle is possible or even desirable. Nealmans is married to the son of JetBlue's founder with a net worth of nearly $400 million. This has led to accusations that this lifestyle only works for the ultra-rich. Others say the rise of the trad wife is just an excuse to push back on the gains made by feminists in the modern era and return women to a more subservient role.
Here to discuss is author of this Federalist piece and a research associate at the Heritage Foundation, Emma Waters. Emma, welcome back.
Now, we heard the downside to that. It's like, oh, you're trying to put women back in their place. I don't know about all that. I know it's a lot of people getting tired of being in the workplace. I know it's folks out here just sick and tired of dealing with the corporate world or dealing with whatever world they're dealing with. If given a choice, would they want to go home and like stay with their kids? Yeah. Now, of course, they were showing old girl who was like the big TikTok or whatever, and her husband is worth almost $500 million. Yeah, they can live any kind of life they want to live. Can you do that? Can you stay at home and live that kind of life, making $68,000 a year? Depends on where you live and how you manage your money. Yes, it can be done. What kind of sacrifices do you want to make? But yes, it can be done. Just like there are people out there making $300,000 a year, living paycheck to paycheck. Believe me, it happens. There's people out there who are making $68,000, $69,000 a year, and they're able to put money aside. They're still able to live a good life. They might not go to Disney every year, but maybe they go camping and the kids love it. Maybe they go to Yosemite if they can afford that. They find deals out there. It can be done. It can be done. You know what I mean? Falcon Force was talking about folks should just do what works for them and stay out of other folks' business. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point there, man. Hell, I'll be a traditional wife until I need to be a traditional husband. Hey, bro, for real. I'm sitting here doing the traditional housewife stuff now. I take care of my child. Stuff I got to go do. Last good man in Jersey. Some women don't really want to be traditional wives. They just don't want to work. There's that. There's that. And then you have people who just, most people are sheep. Most people are sheep. They call them sheeple. They see something and they're like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's for me. They're talking to me. Until they get in the house and they have to clean up behind those loud, crazy kids and make all that food and, make sure dinner is ready when the husband comes home. And, they get into it like, I don't like this. You got some people who are like, well, let me try it out. And just try to, which is better? Let me try this out. Let me try this traditional conservative thing, traditional wife thing. Then get into it like, nah, I want to go back to the workplace. Like, dude, hey, you can stay home, pops. Let dad stay home with the kids. I want to go back to work. I was making more money anyway. You might get that. And it goes back to what Falcon was saying. Folks should just do what works for them and stay out of other folks' business. Let's continue.
Back to Rising.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Right. So a lot of this trend, I think, started during the pandemic, and a lot of women ended up leaving the workforce after their jobs went remote. This was talked about in the media as sort of a tragic trend about how they needed to actually figure out how to get women back to work. But a lot of women that I've talked to say that the pandemic basically reminded them that they actually enjoy being at home and enjoy taking care of their kids. Where did your inspiration for this piece come from? And what has been your experience in terms of the research that you've been doing on the rise of this trad wife trend?
So I'll be the first to admit that I was actually highly skeptical of the trad wife influencers for a long time and really critical of them. So similar to some of the criticisms that you hear, it's unrealistic. They're playing into a stereotype and they're trying to paint this one vision of womanhood, of what it means to be feminine, that's maybe just not representative of what most women actually want. But as I was observing COVID, and then even just the last few years, the changes we've seen and the way that women prioritize their time, I started to realize that even though these tradwife influencer accounts are usually showing the most extreme version of what it means to be a feminine homemaker at home with all of her children, that in many ways it was actually tapping into this deep need within Gen Z. I mean, the fact that she has 9 million followers, and I'm guessing a lot of those are moms of kids who probably aren't getting to live the kind of lifestyle that she is. That they're
9 million followers. Wow. She has 9 million followers. Now, there's a lot going on here. You know, the grass is always greener on the other side. If you're a woman who's doing the 9 to 5, man, you're out there, you in the trenches with everyone else, you're working hard. You know, the pandemic hits, you go home and you realize, like, man, I like being at home. I don't want to go back to the office. Whether you have kids or not, especially if you have kids, like, man, I could work and be home with my kids. You know, I can see that that's very appealing. But there are also people out there who look forward to going to work so they can get away from the kids, bro. Like, man, let me get away from these bad little kids, man. Let me go to work for 8 hours. You know, hopefully I'll give me some overtime. I can stretch it out to 10. Let dad deal with them little kids. You know, you don't know what you like until you know, right? So I see that as well. You know, I see that as well. And my take on this is, man, do what works for you and your family. Do what works for you and your family. And for a lot of women who sit here and like, you're just trying to shove us out of the workplace and back in the kitchen and take rights away from us. I don't think that's the case. I think there are a lot of women who are just looking at options and they're like, you know what? I'd much rather be at home with my kids. You know, but when it comes to these influencers, man, they're just looking at a lifestyle that they'll probably never be able to get. It's like, yeah, if you ask most women, like, well, if your husband is worth $1 billion, would you want to go to work? A lot of them will say, nah, I think I'll stay home. Kids or no kids. Now, if it says, well, your husband is worth $500 million, you got to cook every meal from scratch. You got to make sure the house is spotless. You're not going to get any maids. You're not going to get a nanny. You're not going to get a driver and all this. Her answer might be different. Her answer might be, you know what? I'll just stay at work. I'll just build my company. I'll just do whatever. I'm going to get outside the house too. You just never know. Viking Paradigms in the building. What's good, man? Humans by default are copycats, man. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them are, man. It's just, they never kind of grow out of stuff. And again, they don't know who they are. You know, see something like, I want that lifestyle. How do you know? How do you know you want that lifestyle?
there is this inherent and like deep hunger among women to really be at home with their children. And I think many women experience the burnout of girl boss culture, of the corporate full-time work lifestyle, where you're rushing the kids off to school or to daycare, you're getting to work, you're doing the best job that you can. And then you have to hurry and go pick them back up, and then dinner's ready. And then it just goes on and on. And COVID introduced this restful time where all of a sudden you could slow down, you could take time with your kids and really enjoy some of the more domestic arts that many aspects of our modern and especially urban life don't allow. And so all of that together, and just seeing the happiness that a lot of women were deriving from this, I thought it was something really important to consider more closely.
And it's something else to realize, to consider as well. There's some women out there who will never stop working, bro. That's what they want to do. That's their passion. They'll never stop working. There's some women, I mean, it may sound kind of harsh to hear, but there's some women that's like, nah, I'll hire somebody to raise the kids. I want to be here bringing home the money. There's some women out there like that. There's some dudes out there like, man, I would love to stay home with my kids and take care of business if the wife is out making the money. There's some dudes out there that want to say that. They will say that they want to stay home and do that. This is just one of those things, like, you know, it's like Falcon said, man, just do what works for you and yours and don't worry about everyone else. But unfortunately, everyone else is what people worry about.
You know, in this state I'm in right now, the state of Iowa, childcare is $865 a month on average. It seems really telling to me that we've seen kind of a correlation with this glorification, if you will, of stay-at-home mom influencing, right? Kind of romanticizing the idea of staying at home. I'm wondering, how much of this is coping with high childcare costs and not really having much of a choice to work a job where you're making potentially a similar amount of money instead, just staying at home and doing that work yourself instead of paying someone else out. I just don't think Gen Z would really want to go back to the 1950s, which I think is where a lot of this trad wife core comes from, when women couldn't have their own bank account or buy a car. It wasn't until the 1960s that you could, but only with your husband's signature. And then finally in 1974, it became legal for women to have their own finances. And so I just don't think a lot of Gen Z women want to go back to that. But
I mean, was it a call to go back to that? I mean, like a lot of people they jump to conclusions. It's like, yo, we're talking about women who are married, women who are thinking about being married, and they would prefer to stay at home and raise the kids than to go to the office. At least that's what I'm thinking the conversation is about. What's this? We're going to take, okay, now if you decide to stay home, you can't vote. You know what I mean? You can't have a bank account. You can't have credit unless you have your husband's signature. Nah, I don't think that's what people are saying. She made a real good point about childcare. Man, some places childcare could be $1,000 a week, depending on where you are. It could be easily $1,000 a month for childcare. Easily. $12,000 a year. Right? Think about that. If you're looking at paying, $1,000 a month in childcare and you're only making, $75,000 a year, 12,000 of that is going to childcare. Right? Think about this. You got to pay taxes, right? So almost half of that is gone to taxes. And then of the money you get to keep, 12,000 of that goes to childcare. It's like, well, how much are you making? It's like, you know what? You might stay home and we might be better off. Childcare is a huge issue. Huge. And I brought that up before when we talk about how the family court system works. And they're talking about custody of a child. Well, the facts are, like, if you got a mom, you got a dad, they're not married, they're separated, or never been married or whatever, they have a kid. That child is going to be with strangers more than mom or dad. So it's like, okay, one parent gets the majority of custody, but all they're doing is taking the child to daycare, where the child spends 8 to 10 hours a day in daycare. So, you know what I mean? So yeah, like if you can figure out a way to save that money, that makes sense. Like, hey, why don't you just stay home? One of us needs to stay home for the next 3-4 years until we get our child into kinder and then go back to work. And then that choice should be made by the family. This is what we decided to do. This is what me and my wife decided to do. I'm staying home with the kids. Why? Because she was making more money. I could stay at home and I was able to work on a part-time basis with my current company. They're going to allow me to stay home and work part-time until our kids are old enough to get into, either cheaper childcare or kinder. And then I'm going to go back to work full-time. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff that people should be doing. But for her to sit there and say, I don't think that Gen Z is aware that this could mean that we're going to roll back the laws and make women subservient to men again. I don't think that argument is genuine. I think it's very disingenuous to say stuff like that, to be honest with you.
I can understand, whether it's financial constraints, meaning you're going to stay home and you want to romanticize your life for the internet, or you just like the idea of being home with the kids. But I'm skeptical that people want to go back to the actual world legally of what the 1950s was. What's your sense of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And notably, credit card debt did not begin to skyrocket in the United States until women could have their own credit card without their husband's signature. So I'm not advocating we go back.
Damn, she got it right there. She started right off with, like, y'all ain't start going into debt until you could go get your own credit card. Shots fired. Get some. Get some. Little shorty let her have it, didn't she?
But I think there are some funny trends there. But when it comes to actual childcare, I think you're absolutely right. There are a lot of women who realize that I'm effectively working just to pay someone else to watch my kids. And while many women certainly have jobs that they really love and enjoy, a lot of times they come to the end of the month and they're like, I'm not sure that this is really worth it. And on top of that, I'm missing out on all the really sweet memories with my children that someone else is getting. My mother-in-law once said that she realized that everyone else was getting the best part of her kids. And then by the time she got them, they were tired, they were grumpy, and they were ready to go to bed. And frankly, she was too. And that's just not the sort of life she wanted to build with her children. And so if you look at
And that's what a conversation really should be. It should be with that woman if she's a single mom, or should be with that family if it's mom and dad. Like, hey man, let's look at this. What are we doing here? How much money are we spending? We're spending $1,000 plus a month on childcare. So you're working all this overtime just so you can get this money to somebody else to watch the kids. Let's figure this out. All right, let's figure this out. Let's, you know what? Hey, baby, do you want to keep working or do you want to stay home? It's like, you know what? I think I want to stay home. Or I want to keep working. Then he can say, all right, then I'll stay home. Right? We got to do something. This is crazy. I'll stay home. Then maybe we can move. We can move to a lower cost of living area, something like that. You know what I mean? Last good man in Jersey. Women make about 40K annually on average. This girl boss narrative is baloney. Most women are going to break even sending their kids to daycare and lose money with 2+ kids. Yeah. Wonderful 34 is in the building. What's good, fam? I see you, bro. You know what I mean? Level Up Man's in the building as well. What's good, fam? My favorite Southerner. He's like, whoa. Got her. Yeah, she got her. She got her, man. Like, the facts are the facts. The facts are the facts. Our society is changing. We'll never go back to that 1950s, 60s way of life ever. It's not going to happen. We'll never go back there. It costs too much to live in America these days, man. Like inflation is one, the dollar, there's not as much purchasing power with the dollar anymore. I mean, you can't buy as much stuff. Yeah, you're making more money, but that money does less. That money does way less now. So, when you adjust for inflation, no, Americans aren't making more money. Like last good man in Jersey just pointed out, we're not making more money as Americans. It looks that way. The number is bigger, but you could buy less stuff. Look how much gas costs. Look how much food costs. Look how much eggs cost. Look how much utilities are. Look how much a car costs. Look how, when you start looking at it, look how much a house costs. Average house in America, I think the median mortgage in America is $400,000 now. I think that's the median. $400,000 to get a house. Back in the 50s, $25,000, $30,000, man, maybe 50 grand to get a house. Think about that, man. It's crazy out here.
Studies that American Compass and the Institute for Family Studies have done, they've actually found that for a lot of women, sort of like self-reported goals, most women report wanting to work something between like a part-time job or just like a really flexible role. And for women in like lower incomes, they just don't want to work and have one partner bring in the money and then they can run the household, which like truly is a real skill in and of itself to run the household on a strict budget, to make ends meet and to really provide a beautiful life for your family. So I think to your point, no, most women don't want to go back to a space where you're really just sitting in the home. And I think a lot of people would argue that wasn't the 1950s, but I think it's important to go back to the even truer vision here, that ultimately men and women, husbands and wives, are called to join together in this shared vision of the home, this shared vision that they're called to as partners, and that they're to pursue that together. So this idea that women are at home cleaning and men are out doing the really important work was really a rare phenomenon even in the 1950s that clearly did not sit well with women. And so what I think is exciting is that the overcorrection that some of these tradwife influencers are presenting is hopefully bringing people back to a happy, normal state where women can engage in meaningful work, but also have time to raise their children, to be present with their husbands, and to build a community. Think of all the stats of loneliness and the lack of community, where even women now are reporting fewer and fewer close friends.
And she is really hitting on some good stuff here. Some good stuff. Last good man in Jersey is right. It's like women are making about $40,000 a year annually. I was like, oh, let me look that up real quick, because I remember looking this stuff up last week. And yeah, The U.S. Census Bureau in 2023 basically says men earn a median salary of $52,612 in 2022, while women earn $39,688, 75% of men's salaries, right? And a lot of that probably centers around childcare and centers around what type of jobs they have and all that. We're not going to turn this into a pay gap conversation, but you know, he was spot on. He said 40 grand that's right there. I mean, the numbers are out there, bro. The numbers are out there. And if you're only making 40 grand a year and you have to spend almost 12,000 of that on childcare, it's like, what are you doing? You know, and I think a lot of this, what she just said, like it forces the conversation to be had in men and women, you know what I mean, to look at the outdoor, man, let's work this together. Let's try to work this out. Y'all know my stance on marriage. You know, like that's something, you know, you gotta think about. You gotta think about that. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those things. It's, you know, you have to have that conversation. You know, let's say you vetted the person, you know, the man and the woman both vetted each other. They know what they're getting into. They're going to do this. They want to be married, right? We're not talking about the 50% of marriages that end in divorce. We're going to talk about that 35 or 40% of marriages that actually go the distance, right? The stable couples, right? We're talking about them. I'm pretty sure they had to have that conversation. Like, how are we going to do this? You know, I got to do this long commute and you're here with the kids, plus you have to work. You know, what do we got to do to make this work? Does it make sense for one of us to go ahead and resign or maybe try to work from home? These are the conversations that you're going to have as a married couple. Now, if you're married to a dude who's like, I'm telling you to stay home and you cannot work, you chose the wrong dude. If you with the woman who's like, I don't want to work, I'm just going to stay home and eat ice cream and play with the Shih Tzu or whatever, you chose the wrong woman. We're talking about the ones who actually did the work. They vetted one another. They're trying to make their relationship work. Having the woman stay at home if she chooses to could make a lot of financial sense. Point blank, period. Beautifully Animated Speaks is in the building. What's good, sis? What's good? So glad you came by. It's always a pleasure to see you. I ain't seen you since last year, girl. Happy New Year. Let's continue.
It's hard to ignore that trend if you're thinking about full-time work, because frankly, when you're in the office all the time, like that is where your energy is going. So I'm hoping that like the outcome here is that we're just able to like reclaim a much happier and balanced life where women are able to do the work that they care about, but also receive the support and flexibility that they need to really build this anti-fragile and very happy life for themselves.
I'm still cracking up about the credit card debt comment because women do be spending, but a couple of statistics I've been seeing. So the percentage of mothers who identify as stay-at-home parents has increased by about 10 percentage points in the last year to 25%, but we still see that 56% of U.S. mothers prefer to stay home. So I definitely think there is something to the argument from some that this lifestyle could be prohibitively expensive as we increasingly fall into this two-income trap. So what are some of...
It could be, and this is why they got to have a conversation. It could be. It may not make sense. Like, you know what? We can't afford to have someone staying home with the kids. So we're going to have to get grandma in here to help because we can't afford this daycare, or maybe get some sort of help. Maybe we qualify, you know what I mean, for some sort of special funding for daycare. But if you can swing it financially and have one person stay home with the kids, why wouldn't you do it? Just the thing that they're mad about is just like they said, they're romanticizing this whole thing. Oh man, look at, you know, these women are like, I want to put an apron on and go into the kitchen and make a meatloaf or lasagna or whatever. I want to make a homemade apple pie. Oh, wouldn't that be just cool if I could just sit around all day and do that? I could see that being a problem. You know, someone seeing something on TV and falling in love with an ideal, and it's like, bro, that's not your life. That's not going to be your life. Not right now. Like, that's not going to be your life. If that's the life you wanted, you married the wrong dude, because you married a dude who's, you know, he's making the average. You made a dude who's making $65,000 a year. And we live in LA. We live in San Diego. We live in New York. Nah, they ain't going to cut it. Not even close. Especially if we got kids. That's not going to cut it. So I can see that being a problem. Be like, I'm just gonna quit my job and stay at home. It's like, nah, you gotta have that conversation with that your significant other, because you might be putting both of y'all in the poorhouse. But if you can figure out a way to do it, like this is how it works, this is what we're gonna do. You know, this is how we're gonna eat. This is how we're gonna pay for the gas. This is how we're gonna pay for utilities. It'll work. If you can do that, you know, then maybe, just maybe, y'all can go ahead and make that happen. You know, last good man in Jersey, modern women seem more triggered by trad wives than OF girls. That's a fact, man. That's a fact. They're okay with, hey man, I'm gonna get on this platform and I'm gonna make extra money on this platform, sexualizing myself. That's cool, but how dare you stay at home and be an ideal mother and all this other kind of stuff? How dare you do that? I don't understand that. But again, only a small percentage of people actually speak out. So most folks are like, that's cool. Most folks are like Falcon and myself. They're like, hey, if you can make it happen, make it happen. That's great. If she wants to stay home and raise the kids and take care of business, that's amazing. That's amazing. If that's what she wants to do. Right? That's amazing. But I think most people are just like, yeah, that's pretty cool if you can figure it out. While others, you know, the ones who making all the noise, I think they're a minority. I think, you know, anyone who's like, you should never stay home. And, you know, if you stay home, you're destroying the sisterhood or whatever. You're encouraging the patriarchy. I think that's a very small percentage of women out there saying stuff like that. And that same woman is saying, yeah, if you want to get on OF, then that makes you a modern leader and all women should do that. No, you shouldn't. The vast majority of women on that platform don't make any money. The vast majority do not make any money. You have the bad babies of the world will go in there and make $50 million in like a day or whatever she did. It was insane. That just says a lot about the dudes out there, right? The simpletons of the world. They couldn't wait to give her bread, you know, but that's not going to be the outcome of the average woman who jumps on that platform. It's a lot of hard work. It's kind of like doing this. This is a lot of hard work. Trying to, you know, get yourself up every day, even days when you don't feel like doing it, and coming up with conversations and stuff like that. This is hard when it's supposed to be. And OF is hard too. And the women who are making the most money on that platform are normally managed by dudes. We'll leave it there.
Of the policies perhaps being proposed on a state or federal level that could make it easier for women to pursue perhaps part-time work or staying home entirely without sacrificing the fact that it is very expensive with inflation and the cost of housing now to just have one individual working outside the home.
Yeah, and so unfortunately, under the Biden administration, there really seems to be this targeted attack against working mothers. So there are a number of recent legislation or regulatory measures that have been introduced that I actually cover in an article for The Telegraph on Bidenomics and how it's forcing women back into work when maybe they don't actually want to be there. And so unfortunately, you're seeing things like the IRS is requiring reporting on even small purchases through PayPal or through Venmo, where a lot of women who work contracted or flexible jobs selling through Etsy or doing other work like that are able to actually have a really good flexible income that works for their schedule. They're now adding more reporting requirements, more time to it to make it difficult. There are a few other measures that they've introduced that, again, would just add more barriers to women trying to find these creative options for work. And on the positive side, that's what we have to be seen. I know a lot of people would really like to see a way of transforming daycare subsidies in a state and making it like an ESA or an education savings account. So the money that the state has quote unquote set aside for you to send your kids to daycare for free, what if you actually just gave that to the families and let them decide how they spend their daycare money? So maybe that's paying the mom to be home with her children, or maybe that's having a grandmother or another close friend be involved. And I think things like that really empower parents to spend their money and to utilize the resources that they have on a federal and state level in a way that really reflects their values. I think that's the direction a lot of policymakers are interested in going, and that's where we really need to encourage them to go.
Yo, that's wild. I didn't know that. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't looked into it. I'm talking about the part where Bidenomics is really making it difficult for those women who want to be stay-at-home moms with all these various reporting requirements on all these different financial platforms. Could be. I'm not pushing back. I don't have any, I have nothing. I'm just saying that could be. And I'm listening, you guys know I'm a comedian. I'm always out here listening to comics. A lot of comics are talking about Bidenomics. A lot of black comics, right? Female comics. They're making jokes about this kind of stuff. So it's like, yeah, the money spigots, he kind of got turned down a little bit, all except for student loans. But everything else is kind of, people are talking about it. But I don't know, maybe I have to look into that. But the last thing we would want to do is make it harder for women to stay home, you would think. But again, if we're living in a modern world and our society is moving towards that environment where men and women have to go to work, whether they have kids or not, I can see that being a problem. And, childcare is really expensive, y'all. I mean, it's for those first, 4 or 5 years, like, especially if you put in infants in childcare, that's really expensive. And then the older they get, once they become potty trained and they can talk and they're walking around, they can kind of feed themselves, it gets cheaper and cheaper. It comes down to a point, but I'm here to tell you that was like new car money. That was new car money with insurance. Like, that was crazy money. That's Lamborghini money. Well, maybe not Lamborghini, but certainly BMW, Mercedes money. You're looking at, $400, $500, $600 a week. A week. That's what I was looking at in LA. And then, of course, there's different prices, different parts of the country. Depends on, the cost of living area and stuff like that. But childcare is real expensive. No matter where you are, it ain't cheap. So you definitely need that help. And if the government really wanted to help American families, okay, well, it makes sense to have those kind of programs where the subsidies are such that, you can get that money back in taxes or something like that. And, bring family members in to help, or maybe mama come home or dad to come home, but that's taking money out of the pockets of some of these businesses and these other organizations. So you see how the money is moving around. Whatever you do over here is going to affect that over there. But man, if someone can prove that statement, if they can come out and show how the Biden administration is anti women being home with their kids, boy, oh boy, you best believe it'll come out in this election. Because it looks like it's going to be Trump and Biden again. Two choices nobody wants. Let's continue.
Policy-wise, I make a lot of my money off of social media. I'm an independent contractor, and a lot of my official income comes through PayPal. So I think it makes sense to have that taxed as formal income. As far as childcare being covered as a part of, women working, but not being offered if the woman's staying home, it makes sense to me because we have all kinds of write-offs related to the cost of doing business, right? And so if you are going to work, whether as an independent contractor or otherwise, daycare does become a cost. We have seen it go up tremendously, 32% since 2019. It's much more expensive. So if you want to work, it becomes almost a prohibitive thing having kids and being a mom. And I think, policy corrections so that that's not the case are generally good. But I think we should really touch on the point that actually the tradwife influencers are working. It is a job to be an influencer. They're, I'm sure, making a lot of money off of brand deals and just the viewership on their content. And I think that it's probably a ton of work to edit all of those videos, to post them, to interact with an audience. And so what do you make of the fact that a lot of these tradwife influencers are actually probably working during most of their waking hours?
Which I get her question. She's making a valid point, but that number one trad wife influencer they were talking about, whose husband makes over $400 million a year, man, look, she's probably, all she does is turn the cameras on and off. And then all that stuff gets exported to someone who's going to edit it, chop it all up, do all the text work. Come on now. She's not doing all that. She's not going to do all of her traditional wife stuff, make all the food, do all the cleaning, all the cooking, changing the diapers and all that. She's not doing all that stuff, taking care of her husband when he comes home, feeding him, doing the dishes, getting ready for the next day, and then go and edit and then go and storyboard out her next story for her next 5 or 6 TikToks. Man, come on now. She has a team. She has a team. Let's keep it 100. Let's hear what they have to say.
Yeah. And this is, I think, the thing that initially really bothered me about the influencer movement, because it seemed almost disingenuous that they're saying you should quit your job, go be at home and play with your children, while they themselves are working incredibly long hours to promote themselves, to provide the content, to stay engaged with their followers. Like you were saying, is really just an every moment of your waking day job. But then it really, I think, struck on a deeper level is that women have always worked, right? There's never been like a true ideal that women really shouldn't work, save for maybe a brief period in the 20th century. But instead, understanding that women have always had jobs working on farms, working with their husbands in blacksmith shops, right? Writing, and that also raising your children and educating them, and again, running a very productive household is a legitimate job that I think we don't spend enough time talking about. And frankly, this is something that I'm really interested in myself, of learning, living in Washington, D.C. in a very urban area. What does it mean to have a productive household where we're actually working and being very faithful with what we've been given in a way that we actually are able to show something for our time, right? That home is not just a landing pad, a place that we come to rest for leisure, and then we go outside of the home to do our real work. So I agree that there's sometimes the frustration in some of their messaging. But again, hopefully this ultimately communicates to Gen Z and to future generations that like work is good, that we all want and have this desire to work, that it boosts our self-esteem in a really positive way. But that there are certain kinds of jobs that do align better with what women want. And there are certain kinds of jobs that seem to really go against that. And so that's why I really highlight the not so traditional 9 to 5 of having women fully outside the house and fully apart from their children most of the working day. I think is what feels so unnatural. And that kind of work, influencers are certainly rejecting. I mean, that kind of work, I think most women are just not as naturally interested in if they have young children at home. But
and she's saying a lot. I'm trying to look for places to jump in here because she just goes without taking a breath. But she has some good points there. There are a lot of jobs out there that probably pay more, but women aren't taking them because it doesn't align with the things that they want to do, hence the pay gap. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the pay gap, but that was the perfect segue. So, yes, if you can get yourself a situation where you can work from home and be home with the kids, if you have kids, that is great. That is amazing. For people to say, well, these TradCon women, they're selling a lifestyle and they're working so hard, they're working 3 times as hard as a regular woman. Okay, I get what you're saying, but she's still at home doing her thing. Yeah, if that woman has 900 million followers, she's making a ton of money. Yeah, of course you're gonna get what she need to support them. We're gonna get you a team to support this, and we're gonna keep this content flowing while you're going around at home doing your normal stuff. And I love the point that she made about historically how women have always been working, which they have been. They talk about this in the biblical text, bro. You go back to the Torah, the Quran, the King James Bible. They talk about women working. Like you go back to the medieval times, women were out there in the field with their husbands and all the kids. Why do you think they had so many kids? They needed labor. They were out there doing the work. You know what I mean? Like if a husband's a blacksmith and the wife would be right there doing stuff and taking care of business. Women have always worked and will always be working. That it's just a matter of what type of work and how, like what are we doing for the family and how is this going to make sense for us? Goes back to what Falcon said, right? Do what works for you and yours. Quit worrying about everybody else. It is what it is. Level up, man. The most successful content creators have editing staffs. Of course they do. Of course they do. Anyone who has, I don't know, I'm gonna say anyone who has over 100,000 subscribers, they got editors on speed dial. They generally gonna work with a team of editors. They're probably gonna try to keep the editing to their main editor, but in case something comes up, they gotta have 2 or 3 on standby. I'm always talking about Fresh and Fit. Come on now, they don't all those different channels, the clip channels, and how they edit up their stuff, and the X stuff and the Instagram stuff. Come on now, Myron and Fresh both have their own editors for their own stuff. So you got Fed Reacts and you got CEO Lifestyle. They got their own editors for that. Then they have editors for the Fresh and Fit podcast, right? They got all sorts of stuff going on. Them boys got what, 1.5 million subscribers. This woman has almost 1 billion subscribers. Of course she's got out. Man, she's probably got some of the best editors in Hollywood. Brother Pitney's in the building. What's good, fam? It's all good, bro. You ain't never late, man. You always right on time, Airborne. Don't worry about that, man. Appreciate you coming through. And for those of y'all checking us out, please like and subscribe. All the Ninja Watchers out there. I don't see anything wrong with women and their husbands, those families, deciding that someone's going to stay home with the kids. I have no problem with that. And there's nothing wrong with women who are like, I like doing it. I like being at home with the kids. I got to see the first steps. The way it is now and the way that we're going, the first words, the first steps, the first crawl, all that kind of stuff, you're going to miss that because you're going to be at work. Mom and dad are both going to be at work. And it'll be someone like the daycare provider be telling you, oh, you said his first word today. She had her first step today. Sorry, we didn't get it on film for you. Or even if they did manage to film it, you didn't get to see the first steps. You were working. That's where we're headed. We're going that direction. It's crazy.
Then finding jobs where they're able to care for their children, be present in the home, but then also do the work that they care about. That's really, I think, what the tradwife influencers are highlighting. And hopefully that's the message that Gen Z is hearing.
That's definitely that's the message they're highlighting for sure. Is that the message that they're hearing? Don't know because, I've told this story before. I go to this Walgreens a lot. There's a Walgreens close to where I live. I go there all the time. And there's a young woman in there. And she's finished with high school. I guess she's like set for college or whatever. And in her mind, she was all set for college. And she was telling me all this, stuff about what she plans to study and where she plans to go and all this, right? And I was just like, college is just a waste of money, right? So like, I hope you're going to an inexpensive school. And she's like, it's not a waste of money. And this is kids, men and women, young men and women are being programmed to go to college where they go and then they don't learn anything. They leave high school having not learned anything. They go to college. They haven't learned anything. They come out of college with a ton of debt because they got approved on every credit card. They got approved on every form of debt you could think of to get them through their 4-year program in 6.5 years. They get close to $100,000 in debt and they come out making the average, right? $65,000 a year if they can find it. Generally speaking, they're making less than that their first year. And they're stuck on stupid. So what do? They go back to school because they know they can defer that bill as long as they're in school and they pay more money. It's a trap. And I told this young lady it's a trap. She's like, no, it's not a waste of time. It's not a waste of time. I'm like, yes, it is. Like, I never finished college. I'm retired. I was an air traffic controller. I made a ton of money. I made way more money than my counterparts who went to undergrad. Way more. They're still working. Some of them are working 2 jobs. Some of them like 2 jobs and a side hustle. And only 15% of Americans will make over 6 figures. Only 15% or less will ever earn over 6 figures. You're going to come out of college with all that money, right? So they're being programmed. That's part of the program. You got to go to college. It's part of the programming. You got to work. Got to be a boss babe. This trad wife thing I think is more of a movement to let young women know that there's an alternative. Like, yeah, go to college. Okay, cool. Get your job. You got your career started. All right, you got to fall back. Like, you got to fall back. You really don't need, but you got to fall back. Become this traditional conservative type woman or traditional wife. Find you a guy who's earning, right? Like, you use your beauty and your feminism to be able, your femininity, I should say, to be able to find the man that you want. And then, you're good to go. Now, some people are like, man, that sounds awful like gold digging. It's an awful lot like gold digging, bro. It's just finding the best. It's finding the best, bro. You shopping for a wife, you shopping for a husband. You're gonna want to get the best you can get, right? Call it what you want to call it. But there's so many women out here who they go to college and then they explore their sexuality. They're out here doing their thing, right? And they're filming it. They're doing their thing and they do OF and they do all this other stuff that will come back and bite them in the butt later when they're trying to get this top tier dude. It will definitely come back and bite them in the butt. So you have content creators like our sister, Maggie, the substitute teacher, right? Shout out to Maggie, who are simply showing a different way. Here's her page right here. Right here. Daily content, food and femininity. Look at that. Teachable moments with Maggie.com. Like Maggie, the substitute teacher. Actually, the first time I ever got a super chat was from Sister Maggie. She sent me $100, y'all. Shout out to her. That is, I was like blown away. I was like, yo, I can't wait to meet her in real life. And she was recently in Tampa doing this thing with YouTube, and I missed it. I missed it. But shout out to Maggie. But her channel, like she's out here giving young women an opportunity to do it a different way. Do it a different way. Right? She's out here showing people how to cook. I found her through Suzette Speak. Shout out to Suzette. She's showing people how to, showing women how to cook and showing women it's okay to be feminine. It's okay to be a lady. There's nothing wrong with it. How to make breakfast stuff and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's okay. And she has, I think that she was offering classes. Here it is, Elegance Boot Camp. Like an elegance boot camp, right? We're going to show young women how to be elegant. That's something that we're missing out here. I'm telling you, as a dude who's been in the trenches a long time, right? That is, man, elegant women are few and far between. And when you do come across them, they're married, obviously. I'm telling you, this is something that I would love to see more of. And she's getting big views. She's getting big views, 40,000 plus subscribers. She's up in Atlanta doing her thing. I'm telling you, these are the type of women we need. We need more of this and less twerkers. We need less rappers, less of these alpha type women out here, bro. I'm telling you, it's rough. It's rough. Right? It's rough. Level up, man. The go to college bullshit was pushed on all of us. Facts. Men and women both fell for it and dove into it without a plan. And the results speak for themselves. Facts, man. It's like, go to college. Now, okay. Unless the numbers have changed, people with a degree tend to earn more over a lifetime than people without a degree. I understand that. But it's been a push for useless degrees. If you're going to go to college, you got to get yourself a useful degree or a trade. If you just go and get you an advanced degree in basket weaving or whatever, and it's like, well, it's not just basket weaving, it's underwater basket weaving. All right, cool. Too bad you didn't do that underwater welding course because they're making a ton of money because that's a dangerous job. They're making a ton of money. So, I mean, it was a trap. And Level Up Man is right. It was a trap. I fell into it. I went to college for a little bit. Then I got hired by the FAA and I was done, but I still had to pay all that money back. Still managed to rack up quite a bit of debt. You know what I mean? Just for the year and the year and a quarter that I went. It's crazy. Beautifully Animated Speaks. It's not that college is a waste. You have to know what your goal is. Some careers require those degrees, but so many careers don't require degrees, just experience. Facts. But they don't tell you that, do they? They just tell you go to college, you're going to be straight. And that is a lie. We all understand that. Brother Smee was in the building. What's good, fam? Checking in all the way from down under, all the way from Australia. Always a pleasure to see you, brother. Always a pleasure. You know what I mean? And they just don't tell you, sis. They don't tell you the downside. All they tell you is you got to go to college, get the degree, go to college. A degree in what? General studies. What is that? And like you said, you need experience. So most kids aren't even trying to get the internships anymore. They're going to school and just staying in the dorms and living that life, getting lit, doing what they do, racking up their body counts, stuff like that, having fun. It's like you can at least go ahead and get yourself an internship somewhere and try to start to line up your job. I know people who go to like a school like Notre Dame or USC, right? They'll go into Cal, you know what I mean, or a University of Texas. And they'll be there for 3 years before they declare a major. Like, come on, bro. You've been here for 3 years. You still don't know what you want to do. Well, I thought I wanted to do that. So I did pre this, pre that. It's like, you're just here. And they learn how to work the system. They learn how to get the money. They're professional students. At some point, the ride has to end and you got to pay the piper. And that is what they're not telling folks. So Maggie's out here doing her thing, showing women. And of course, this has nothing to do with school or anything like that. But I just think that, you know, women should be aware of their options. You don't have to be a boss babe if you don't want to. You could be a boss babe or you could be a traditional conservative woman. The choice is yours. Right? You can go to school and be a traditional woman. You can go to school and be a boss babe. You can go to school and pursue your career, your degree work, and pursue a husband, which is what Sister Ebony K. Williams was talking about. She was like, wow, you know, she said it. She was like, hey, I should have gone to school and pursued a husband as well as my law degree. Because you can do both. But women aren't I don't believe women are given these options. They're just told, you will be a boss babe. You will go to college. You will be independent. Okay, fine. But there are no other options outside of that. And if that independence doesn't work for you or you don't like it, you know, by the time you hit 28 to 35, now you're like, you know what? I want to get the husband I've always wanted. It's going to be hard now because most of those dudes that already wifed up who they wanted, they wifed them up in undergrad. Here you are just coming out of grad school or whatever. You're going to have to modify that plan. And you don't have the tools that will help you find that guy that you want. Or when you find that guy to help keep him. You know, so Elegance Boot Camp might have been a good option for that young woman. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. G Complex is in the building. What's good, fam? The get any degree narrative is outdated these days. Really, only a handful of degrees make sense now. Yeah, and they're all pretty much STEM. And even that, with AI on the horizon, bro, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know if any degree is worth it at Notre Dame, or at University of Wisconsin, or at UPenn, or Harvard. If you're gonna get into one of these institutions, you know what I mean, these old school blue chip institutions, you know what I mean, University of Miami, Florida State, Auburn, University of Georgia, Colorado, Oregon. If you're gonna go to these type schools, get a degree. Get a scholarship. Earn a scholarship. If you don't earn a scholarship, go to the city college. Right? Go to the JUCOs. Right? Go somewhere else, right? So you can get your undergrad done where it's very affordable, and then you can do some grad work somewhere else. So you can get your undergrad at someplace like Cincinnati State, right? All right, graduated from Cincinnati State. It only cost me $12,000 or whatever. And then you can go to the University of Cincinnati and take some courses like through your corporation. Like if you get hired on somewhere, and maybe your corporation will pay for you to get this other degree or whatever, like this course through University of Cincinnati, or this course through Yale or Brown, or this course through Cal. And I think it was last good man in Jersey who was talking to me about this last year. And I forgot to hit him up because I wanted to talk to him about that corporate track. That's another thing too. They're not telling these young kids, like you guys are saying, to plan it out. Plan it all the way out. This conversation done took a turn, but I'm just saying, it's just these young men and women aren't given all their options. These young women, especially, again, like, don't be a traditional woman. You're letting down the sisterhood. Man, you out your mind. You out of your mind. Get the degree that you can afford. And then grad school, you can get some sort of grad degree, some sort of program where you wind up with a piece of paper on a wall that says that you completed this program at Harvard, or or Colgate, you know what I mean, or University of Kentucky. It's on the wall, bro. You did it without spending $80,000 to $150,000 to go through their school program, go through their undergrad program. Level up, man. I spent 5 years at Old State U and had a plan. Graduated with 0 student loans and a degree and a plan to become a CPA. Dream realized in 2017, and now I'm over 100K. See, that's how it's done right there. That's how it's done right there. This is what we should be teaching young kids. This is what we should be teaching them, right? And we should be, and level up, man, should be getting taught this and like, hey, man, this is how we're going to work your plan out. And at the same time, be, taught to be a man and take care of business. It sounds like a man plan to me. And we should be doing the same thing with women. There's nothing wrong with being, a traditional woman. There's nothing wrong with going out here, taking care of your education. Okay, you got it all squared away. Find you a good man. There's nothing wrong with that. You found you a good man. All right, y'all love each other. Y'all want to get married? Fine. You did the process. You did everything, right? You vetted one another. Fine. And y'all know how I feel about marriage. But when it comes to women getting married, generally speaking, if it doesn't work, they're working with a net. Especially if they got a guy who's making big money, they're working with a net. I really hope that changes, but at least there's a plan. You feel me? Beautifully Animated speaks. How could my parents correctly guide me if they didn't know more about college degrees, experience, and what you need to reach your goal? The blind leading the blind. I feel you, but nowadays we got these, love. We got these. That's what we have. I didn't think my my screenshot was gonna light up. Now I was got a picture of a female. That's my baby girl. I didn't know it was gonna light up, but I get where you're coming from. But I think the generation, like that generation, is past. Now you have YouTube, right? You have the internet. You're just gonna have to step up and plan it out. You're just gonna have to step up. You crunch the numbers. A lot of kids get sold on, you got to go to the best schools you can go to. I got accepted, I can't believe I got accepted to University of Tennessee. Can you afford it? No one's having that conversation. What do they tell you? Oh, you can just get loans for this, get loans for that, get this and this, get government loans, Pell Grants, you get this and that. And then when it's time to pay all that off, right? No one's standing there to help you out. No one. You got that University of Tennessee degree, but you can't get a job paying over $60,000 a year. It's going to take you, 10 to 15 years just to get to 75,000. You might never see 100,000. It's crazy. Brother Penny's like, STEM has the highest return on investment of all majors available. Also, masters are the new bachelor's degrees. Ain't that the truth, bro? It's not the truth. Right? He was like, the JUCO is lit, according to Coach Greg Adams. You got to do what you got to do. You get in there just to, satisfy the requirements. You need a degree? Fine, I got a degree from this institution over here. It doesn't say you have to have an Ivy League degree. It doesn't say you have to have a degree from a Power 5 college. You know what I mean? And again, if you can get into those big schools with a by winning yourself some sort of scholarship, then that's great. That's great. Brother Smeebles, off to a meeting. Have a good rest of your stream, DL, and everyone else making sure smashing that like button. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much, man. Have a good meeting, bro. Brother Smeebles is in office as we speak, taking care of business. Taking care of business. Beautifully Animated speaks. Masters is a new bachelor. What's the next level if they want? There are already degrees that are rejected when you move to other states. Yeah, it doesn't. All the credits don't transfer sometimes, right? And again, it's a hustle. It's a hustle. It's plenty of careers out there that you can get into without a degree. A lot of places say they require a 4-year degree or work experience, right? It's gonna be like 2 years of work experience. They didn't say where you had to work. Like, you just had to work for 2 years somewhere. The FAA does that when they're hiring their traffic controllers, which is coming up, y'all. Should be coming up in a couple months. It's gonna be another hire. Tell the young kids, start watching. We'll do another show on it, on how to apply. We got some people already in the pipeline. So yeah, that's another conversation for another day. We're gonna leave that there, but we're gonna get back to what's going on with this the traditional wife thing. The traditional wife thing. I'm telling you, we should be encouraging young women who don't want to be boss babes, or they don't want to be getting lit in the club. They don't want to be out here smashing a bunch of dudes. Let them know it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be out here smashing a bunch of dudes. You can get out here and get with someone like Sister Maggie, the substitute teacher, and take her elegance boot camp. Or, you can find yourself a mentor. Find your woman who's made it. She's a quasi boss babe, but she never lost her elegance. She's still very elegant. Talk to them. Like, you don't have to be out here and just be the typical wild boss babe girl who's going out here getting lit, waking up with dudes they don't even know, dealing with situations. Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Right? It's okay to go out here. It's okay to go out here and just be a good woman. If you want to be God-fearing or Allah fearing or whoever fearing, if you want to be spiritual, whatever you want to be, you can go out here and just be a good woman. You don't have to go out here and get your neck tattooed up and have tattoos from head to toe and pink hair and all that. If you don't want to, if you want to do that, that's fine. That's fine. But don't get mad at the women who don't do that. And also understand that there's a better likelihood of you finding a certain type of dude if you're not tatted from head to toe. There's some dudes out there that they're not going to take a woman with tattoos serious. Now, if you got a tattoo somewhere where it can't be seen, that's one thing. But I'm talking about, like, the neck is tattooed up, face tattoos, hands are tattooed up, every inch, arms, legs. There's some dudes who's just they're not gonna rock with that. They'll smash you though. You got it, you got a fatty, they'll go ahead and get up in it, but they ain't really gonna rock with that. That's too modern for them. Right? There are dudes out there who they're not gonna want to be with you if you're free with your body count. Like, yeah, I'm just free love, and I've been with 50 guys, 100 guys last year. They're gonna, or you got all that stuff online and you can see that you're out there thirst trapping on Instagram. There's dudes like, yeah, they'll come smash. But as far as, wanting to go the distance with you, there's some dudes that won't do that. Now, there are a lot of guys who will. There are a lot of guys who, they don't care. They'll take you any kind of way you are. They're going to try to holler at you. Just like the brick lady. The lady that either the police are looking for because she claims she got hit with a brick or whatever. And it turns out that it wasn't true. Trust me, there's a dude out there waiting to wife her up. As wild as she is, there's a dude out there waiting to wife her up. It's just what type of dude, what caliber of dude are we talking about, right? That's what it boils down to. Brother Mandrell's in the building. What's good, fam? Good to see you. And Beautiful Animated was saying, no, not the credits not transferring to another school. People having degrees, but the job they are applying won't accept it because the degrees aren't from their state. Oh, that's crazy right there. I didn't know about that. That is not good. That is not good. That's even more reason to hold off on, you know what I mean? Like, well, forget that, man. I'd rather get with a corporation as a young kid, try to intern and find out all that stuff before you pay for that degree. I mean, it's again, that conversation needs to be had. You know, my daughter's starting high school soon, and we've already talked about college. We've been talking about college for a couple of years, and I've been telling her like, hey, what this is how this is gonna work. She's gonna have to work for that. Like, you want to go to college? Great. You know what I mean? That's cool. But you're gonna have to work for that. And we're not gonna waste money. You know, like my daughter isn't athletic, so like she's very tall, but she doesn't like sports. I'm like, man, it'd have been great. She got a cool little volleyball scholarship, basketball scholarship, or something like that, swimming. She's not athletic. So it's like, all right, we're gonna try to get ourselves an academic scholarship. I have benefits as a veteran in the state of Florida. So we're gonna be doing all this kind of stuff and try to get it set up to where, you know, we get her into a good school. You know, we're not gonna waste a whole lot of money. I'm gonna be right there with her. We're gonna make sure we get through this. Trust and believe I'm looking at the least expensive route. And then we're gonna talk about, you know, it's hard to help a kid try to figure out what their major is gonna be when they don't know what they want to do. Right. So that's gonna be like a whole nother conversation. I'm definitely gonna do a show on it. Definitely gonna do a show on it. Let me see if I get out here and find me some subject matter experts that can tell you, you know, how much money is being wasted on education these days. But you know, back to what we were talking about, man. The TradCon women, they are here. They are here. They're being heard right now. And I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I love an elegant woman. You want to you want to get dinner out of me as opposed to ice cream date or a coffee date? Man, hit me with the elegance. You hit me with that, we going out to eat for real. Like, I'm trying to, yes, we out, man. What's going on? I'm trying to take you out, my dear. Hit me with the elegance, right? Don't hit me with the being lit. Don't hit me with the boss babe vibes. I don't want that. You hit me with the boss babe vibes. We're going to get coffee. We're going to get some ice cream. I'm trying to figure out the least amount of work I got to do to smash. That's all I'm thinking, because this ain't going nowhere. I could tell you a boss babe. Yeah, this ain't going far. I could tell. But if you're elegant, ooh, well, okay. Well, we're going to have to, you know, have that conversation. We're going to have to go down and have ourselves a proper dinner. See what's going on, what's really going on. And again, it could be game, ladies. That could be a good way to run your game. You know what I mean? If you ratchet, hide it. Learn how to hide that ratchetness. Learn how to hide it to get the dude that you want. It's hard to hide that for 2 years, though. And I tell all dudes, like, if you're gonna vet a woman, man, at least 2 years, bro. 2 years. Anything less than that, you could be doing yourself a disservice. And if you vet for less than that and it don't work out, that's on you. You know what I mean? Twerking won't get you everything. You need substance. Facts. Facts, sis. Facts. You know, twerking definitely get you a bunch of attention. But is that the kind of attention you want? But I'm telling you, right, I come across whenever I see an elegant woman, if I'm at a play, if I'm at the ballet, if I'm at you know, if I'm like sometimes, you know, I'll catch a symphony or something like that. If I'm in the museum, right? If I'm doing something bougie, and I mean, it's just nothing like an elegant woman. You could tell by the way she's dressed, the way she moves, right? The amount of makeup she's not wearing, the fact that she doesn't have a BBL, no tattoos are visible, right? You can just tell by the way she flows. Like, all right, I'm gonna go over here. You know, you introduce yourself to her. You can tell by the way she engages you right off rip. Oh man, this is an elegant woman right here. Cool. Sometimes you'll see a woman who you think she's elegant, and then you walk up on her and she gives you a whole bunch of attitude. Like you see it come out like, oh, my bad, I thought you was somebody else. And that's what I normally say. Oh, pardon me, I thought you was someone else. Not going about my business. Because you can tell. You sense that attitude immediately. So yeah. Traditional conservative women are here, y'all. They are here. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with being a boss babe neither. There are plenty of men that will go after these boss babes because the bottom 80% of dudes are invisible anyway. So there's plenty of men to get attention from. When it comes to the top 20%, though, you want a leg up, I suggest you be a little more conservative, you know, a little more elegant. and I might help you out a little bit. You know what I mean? It might with the guy that you want, right? And as far as staying home and staying with the kids, nothing wrong with that. If you're a married couple and you're just trying to figure out how y'all gonna move, how you're gonna maneuver, no problem whatsoever. If one of y'all gonna stay home with the kid, if she's gonna stay home and cook and clean and all that, take care of the kids, that's fine. If he's gonna stay home and do it, that's fine. Whatever y'all decide is best for your family situation, go for it. Make it happen. It's no one else's business. All right. So we'll keep our eye on this TradCon situation. You know what I mean? We'll see. We'll see. Goofy Animated speaks. No tats on the throat and chest. Shaking my head. It's a lot of that going on. These young girls are tatted up. Throat, chest. A lot of them, I guess Rihanna was like a big, they get the big old tattoo like Rihanna. And, it is what it is. Dudes will smash, but they ain't trying to wife you up. Certain types of dudes will. I'm not saying that they're lower tier, but it's not very many guys in that top tier who are into that. They want their women all tatted up. There's some. But most of the dudes I know, nah, that's a deal breaker. They'll smash, though. They will take the Foxy Brown all day long. They'll smash. But they're not trying to wife up that at all. At all. I don't care how sweet she is. Like, you got this tattoo on your face, baby. I can't work with that. So, thanks for rocking out with me, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed that one. Traditional conservative women are definitely coming back, y'all. They are in, like fleeing. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to be. So I'll be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Not quite sure what we're gonna be talking about, but it'll be in this vein. I think all week long we're gonna be talking about this sort of thing. Yeah. So just show up 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and we'll figure it out. I know a lot of people have been asking me like, yo, bro, you ain't been dropping links. I know. I haven't been dropping links, but I'm gonna probably do it this week at some point. I will definitely drop the link on one of these shows, get a little spicy show going on, get some people, get a good conversation going. So hang in there with me. We'll probably do it definitely this week. Yeah, so that's it. That's all I got, y'all. Thanks for rocking out with me. I appreciate it. Shout out to everybody that, Beautiful Animated Speaks. Good to see you, sis. I ain't seen you in a minute. Mandrill popped in the last second. Everybody else that was up in here, all my day ones, I appreciate each and every last one of you. All right. I'll be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. I'm DL Saint. This is I Really Want to Know podcast. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.